Queen, let's not sugarcoat this. If your life feels like you keep attracting men who don't stay, don't lead, don't choose, it's not about them. It's about your standard. Not your wish list, not your type or typa, not your vision board, your actual energetic standard. Because the truth is, you don't attract who you want. You attract who your standard permits, right? Hi, love. I'm Kay Ali Cole, and this is where women learn to love and lead from power, not panic. This is where we return to our truth and learn the strategy of peace, purpose, and power. This is your invitation to come home to your center, to come home to yourself. All right? Before we begin, Queen, stay with me until the end. Your Queen's closing gift is waiting there for you. And if you're building a life that reflects your worth, not your wounds, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. You give me your time, I give you my best. That's our promise to each other. All right? So, what we're going to learn today, we're going to learn these things. It's going to be simple, and we're going to break them down in simple, bite-sized pieces. We're going to discuss why the suitors in your life are always a mirror of your energetic standard, what it actually means to set a standard, and how it's different than just having high expectations. It's two different things. How to shift from hoping someone rises to becoming the woman who no longer entertains anyone who falls short. And by the end of this message, you won't just understand how this works. You'll be walking in the kind of quiet power that commands quality and not confusion. So stick with me as we go through this message again. You give me your time, I give you my best. All right? Let's begin this message. What is standard? Let's start there. We throw this word around a lot. But for a lot of women, standard still means a text you hope you'll read, a boundary you're afraid to say out loud, a bar you set, then lower when your feelings get involved, right? Let's be clear, crystal clear. Your standard isn't a list. It's not a speech. It's not a boundary you only hold on Tuesdays. Lucky if you hold it on Wednesdays. Your standard is your energy. It's the permission you give, the behavior you absorb, the way you shrink or stand when pressure shows up. It's how you respond when you don't get what you want, and what you allow to continue when someone gives you less. Right? What you allow when someone gives you less, love. Let that settle. And beloved, this isn't about becoming harsh. This is about becoming honest. God doesn't give you clarity just for you to second guess it. He doesn't show you misalignment just for you to renegotiate it. There is no favor in settling. There is no blessing in self-betrayal. Right? I want to tell you something, and I want you to imagine this. A man walks into your life. He's charming. He's consistent for the first 2 weeks, right? He says all the right things. He even asks you deep questions. But then he forgets your boundary. He texts the infamous WID at midnight. He goes silent after you show interest. Now pause. What happens next? Do you explain why that bothered you but still reply tomorrow? Wait 3 days hoping he gets it? Start wondering if you came off too strong? Or do you calmly exit because that energy can't breathe in your standard? Because here's what no one told us growing up. You don't teach a man how to love you by overextending. You teach him through your absence when your standard is ignored, right? That's how you teach them. If you've been attracting situationships, if you've been doing emotional gymnastics just to feel chosen, if you've been lowering your voice, your needs, love, your values, just to keep someone interested, it's not because you're not enough. It's because you haven't activated your standard. You have to turn the switch on, right? Activate it today. And Queen, your standard isn't meant to push people away. It's meant to filter, to separate the inconsistent from the intentional, to separate interest from misalignment. You are a woman of value. That means your life will naturally repel those who were never built to honor it. And that's okay. You're supposed to have a filter. Not everyone deserves to be in your presence. So you've been wondering why certain men stay, why others disappear, or why the same type of dynamic keeps showing up in different outfits? All right, stick with me. We're going to unravel this. Because in just a moment, we're going to explore what it looks like when your standard becomes a mirror, and how the love you attract is often a reflection of what you allow, right? What you allow. So let's pull back. Let's pull back the curtain a bit and peek our head behind it. When your standards are low, unstable, or negotiable, you don't just invite confusion, you attract it. You don't just draw in inconsistent energy, you normalize it. You start shaping your life around tolerating what's tearing you down, because you're afraid that if you ask for more, nothing will come. But Queen, you were never meant to attract everything. You were built to attract what aligns. And that kind of attraction requires boundaries like velvet rope and discernment like a gate, right? This is why it's not just about the standard itself. It's about your sacred enforcement of it. Because what most women don't realize is that inconsistent men don't leave because the bar is too high. They leave because the mirror got too clear. They were never going to rise with you. They were going to delay you, distract you, and detour your destiny with breadcrumb affection and big energy promises they had no intention of fulfilling. But here's the rub. When you're lonely, tired, and emotionally depleted, standards can start to feel like barriers instead of clarity. You start to question yourself. You start to overemphasize with patterns that don't serve your peace. You start to convince yourself that being chosen at all is enough. And that is where your power must interrupt the spiral. That dreaded spiral, love. Right? It's like this. You ever text a man and then reread your own message over and over, wondering if you said too much? Or watered yourself down so he wouldn't feel intimidated by your confidence? Or waited on a reply even when he didn't ask a single question to continue the conversation? It's subtle at first, but these are the micro decisions where your standards either breathe or break. You're not too much for the right man. You're not doing too much by asking for clarity. And you are absolutely not the problem for expecting consistency. That's the bare minimum. The bare minimum. All right? Here's how a grown man moves. When a man is in alignment with himself, he's not repelled by standards. He's magnetized by them. A man who's done the emotional work doesn't run from a woman with self-respect. No, he steps toward her with clarity. He doesn't just admire your standards. He adjusts his behavior to meet them. A grown man. Because men who are ready don't need 17 reminders and 6 red flags before they act right. They see your energy and either they rise or they release. You won't need to remind a mature man of your worth. He will see it, or he will see himself out. Right? But let's pause here, Queen, because I know what might be rising in your spirit right now. That guilt, that quiet fear, that whisper of, what if I scare him off? What if I end up alone? What if I'm asking for too much in a world where so many women settle? Right? But hear this in love. You are not building a life to make emotionally unavailable people comfortable. You are building a life that honors your peace, your softness, your knowing, and your worth. And anyone who feels repelled by that is a rejection. That's divine alignment, removing what was never yours to hold. All right? Queen, don't let fear trick you into emotional labor. You don't have to earn love. You don't have to shrink to be seen. You don't have to explain peace into a drama and chaos. Right? Let's breathe right here. Let's breathe. Because this is where the shift happens. This is where it happens. You want to know how to filter a man's intentions, right? Raise your standard and watch what he does. You won't need to argue. You won't need to audition. You're the main character of your story. You won't need to follow up with one more text just to prove you care. Because a man's action will always reflect how he values the space you've created. When you create a life that's not afraid to be full without him, you're no longer asking him to complete you. You're inviting him to join you, not complete you. And here's what's wild. When you get there, you'll be shocked at who starts to fall away. And even more shocked by who finally shows up. Right? You don't need him to complete you, love. Either he joins or he exits, right? Now we're going to talk about the inner filter and how your standards don't just guide your relationships, they guide your identity. Because this isn't just about how others treat you. It's about how you treat yourself, all right? Because the moment you stop apologizing for your standards is the moment your life starts aligning around them. It does. That's the shift. That's the shift. So, we're going to continue discussing how your standards, filter those who need to be in your life. You don't rise by begging to be chosen. You rise by choosing yourself so completely that only alignment can find its way in. And here's the truth we don't say enough. A suitor doesn't teach you your worth. He mirrors back what you've been willing to accept. Let's sit with that for a second. That's why your standards are not just boundaries. They are a broadcast. They're not rules to control someone else. They are codes that govern what reaches you. A man doesn't suddenly rise to meet a queen. He either was one when he arrived. He either was one when he arrived, or your standards made it clear he couldn't stay. He will know the difference. And this part might be uncomfortable, but lean in with me. Understand this. Most of us weren't taught how to build standards. We were taught to adjust, accommodate, and accept scraps in exchange for potential. And now when we start to build standards, we feel guilty. Guilty for saying no, guilty for pulling away, guilty for requiring effort. But let's call it in real time. That's not guilt. That's the residue of your former self, the one who survived by settling. Let me give you a real moment. You ever read a message 3 times trying to figure out how to respond without sounding too much? I dreaded too much. That's not boundaries. That's emotional bending. Why are you bending? You ever give a man a second chance even when your body tensed up the first time? That's not grace, that's self-betrayal, wrapped up in hope and potential. So here's a new practice. Start this today. Start listening to the space between your standards and your silence. Because silence, when it's rooted in fear, will invite misalignment every single time. And I know you want to be chosen, pursued, and seen. Every woman does. But here's a shift. Desire isn't the enemy. Disregard is. And the moment you confuse those two, you start lowering your standards just to feel connection. Any connection. Let me pull back the second part of this curtain. Women across every city, every income level, every relationship status are asking the same question. Why did he stop trying? And here's what you need to know. A healthy man doesn't stop trying when he sees your value. He stops trying when he realizes he doesn't meet the mark and hopes you won't notice. But a woman with standards, she notices. But she doesn't beg. She observes, adjusts, and detaches. Right? Sometimes he didn't pull back because he's scared of how much he likes you. He pulled back because he knew, consciously or unconsciously, he couldn't sustain the effort you require. And that's not your cue to chase. That's your confirmation to release. Now I want you to speak to the woman still in that tug of war, the one saying, but what if I'm asking for too much? But what if I'm being unrealistic? But what if he just needs more time? Right? Queen, listen. Your standard is not an ultimatum. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. You're not asking for too much when you ask for what is aligned with your peace. When it's aligned with your peace and your values, your emotional safety, that's never too much. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong one. The wrong one. You want a healthy masculine man, right? Then understand this. He's not confused by your clarity. He's not going to be turned off by your peace. He's not going to be annoyed by your emotional intelligence. In fact, he sees it and feels it and encounters it as safety. Because now he knows he can meet you in stability, not in chaos, not in drama. That's the man whose presence feels calm. The man whose energy doesn't trigger survival mode in you. That's the man who shows up not because he's afraid to lose you, but because he knows exactly your worth. Right? He knows exactly your worth. And as you already know, you are worthy. So if you're done confusing effort with interest and you're ready to call in alignment, subscribe now. That little button right there. So your next suitor, next man, doesn't make you question what you already know. Your peace depends on it and your power protects it, right? See, this journey isn't just about doing better. It's about living better. Because once your nervous system recalibrates to peace, you're no longer entertained by uncertainty. That's why your standard isn't just about how someone loves you. It's about how you let yourself be loved, right? And let's talk about that little soft guilt that creeps in sometimes. Because you ever say no and then spend 30 minutes wondering if you were too harsh? You ever hold your standard and then miss someone anyways? That's normal. It's completely normal. But hear me, missing someone doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It means you're healing from the version of you that once tolerated confusion. You're not missing him. You're grieving the identity that thought he was the only one who could give you what you craved. That grief, it's really growth. And eventually that grief becomes grace. Because one day you'll look back and realize every no you held was a yes to the woman you're becoming right now. Right? Now listen, your suitors, the men that walk into your life, will reflect what you tolerate. So if you're attracting breadcrumbs and chaos and drama and confusion, don't internalize that as your worth. Just audit your standards. Your standard is your self-respect on display. It's your peace speaking before your mouth does. It's your future self reaching back and whispering, don't lower this gate. What's meant for us can climb. They can reach higher. Because when the right one comes, he doesn't ask you to shrink. He expands with you. He grows with you. He doesn't fumble you. He carries you with intention. Not because you forced him, but because your standard made it clear only alignment gets access. And that, queen, is your standards you create, right? That's what you create for your suitors. Let's make something clear. You don't have to scream your standards, love. You don't. You don't have to defend them. You don't have to explain it 12 times or plead for someone to rise into it. You just have to live it. Because the quiet power of a woman who honors her own expectations, that silence is louder than any performance. And that's the real shift. That's the real shift, okay? You don't teach someone to value you by what you allow. You teach them by what you walk away from. You ever notice how people start respecting your boundaries once they realize you'll actually enforce them? That's that soft authority we're building, right? It's not combative. It's not reactive. It's just unshakable. So, and let's address something I know lives in the background of all of this. Fear of being alone. Because if we're honest, some women hold that standard halfway. But keep the door cracked just in case someone comes back with better intentions. But let me say this with love. The longer you leave the door open for inconsistency, the longer you delay the entrance of alignment. Because alignment doesn't come into chaos. Woo. It comes into clarity. And a man who's in his grown, grounded energy, he doesn't come in to compete with confusion. He doesn't chase what's undecided. He steps toward what's settled. So if your energy is sending mixed signals, if you're half standing in your power, half reaching toward your past, you're unintentionally delaying the very love you're praying for. And queen, here's the thing. Every time you lower your standard to see what happens, you're teaching your nervous system that uncertainty is normal. But it's not. It's just familiar. So let's reframe that. Let's reframe it. When you hold your standard and someone leaves, don't internalize that as rejection. Internalize it as redirection. Their exit is your confirmation, not your condemnation. It's a confirmation, love. You don't owe anyone comfort at the cost of your own clarity. You don't need to keep over-explaining why it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, it isn't. And your body has been telling you longer than your mind has. Right? It has. Now let's touch the feminine energy thread here. Not the aesthetic kind, the grounded kind. Softness isn't the absence of standards. It's the strength to stay rooted in them without becoming hard or bitter. And that's the energy your future self needs to step into. Being able to speak calmly, walk quietly, and move confidently, all while knowing I am not auditioning, I'm attracting. And if it doesn't align, it can't stay. You're not cold for not calling back. You're not mean for not replying right away. You're not harsh for removing access. You're clear. And when a woman becomes clear, her energy changes completely. She no longer sits at tables where she has to beg for bare minimum. No. She no longer rewrites her worth in exchange for attention. Of course not. She no longer keeps connections alive just to feel less alone. She lets discomfort do what it's meant to do. Reveal who is meant for the next chapter. Now I want to speak gently here, because some of you are watching this while still loving someone who couldn't meet your standard. Someone you gave grace to. Someone you believed in. And I know it hurts to admit that they weren't capable of rising. It does hurt. But it hurts even more to stay in a place that shrinks you. So here's your truth. You can love someone and still outgrow their energy. You can cherish what was without compromising what will be. You can honor the past without dragging it into your future. That's emotional maturity. It is. Right? I know, have you ever found yourself wondering why a man stopped doing the things he did in the beginning? Simple. He was consistent with what it took to get you. He just wasn't committed to what it takes to keep you. And that's why the standard matters. It isn't to punish anyone. It's to protect your peace, your time, your joy, and your clarity. Because when the wrong one slips through your gates, it doesn't just waste your time. It disturbs your center. It does. Right? It disturbs your center, love. So you have to keep watch at that gate. Because you are not hard to love. You are hard to fool. You're not intimidating. You're intentional now. You're not too much. You are finally whole. And anyone who makes you question, that is not your assignment. They are your lesson. Let them go. Not in bitterness, but in clarity. Because from now on, if it costs you peace, if it makes you doubt your value, if it forces you to explain your standard again and again and again, it's no longer yours to hold. It's no longer yours to keep. Your future self will thank you. Right? She's applauding for you right now, saying, go girl, let it go. She is. So here's where we land, right? Here's where we land. Your standards are not walls. They're windows into your self-worth. And here's the truth many women have never been told. But I'll tell you right now. You don't have to prove you're worthy of being chosen. You just have to stop entertaining people who never had the capacity to choose you in the first place. They never had the capacity. Let's breathe into that, all right? Let's take a moment. Close your eyes, unclench your jaw, uncross your arms, drop your shoulders, right? Now we inhale, breathe in with me. I am the prize. Breathe in, I am the prize. Now exhale, I choose peace over performance. Exhale. Breathe in again. Inhale, my standards are sacred. Breathe that in. Exhale, what doesn't align cannot stay. Now breathe that out. Inhale, love is safe when I'm clear. And exhale, I would never abandon myself again. All right? All right, let that settle into your body. Let it echo into your bones. You're not hard to love. You're just no longer bending in places that don't see your value, right? And if you ever made yourself feel guilty for holding a standard, for wanting consistency and clarity, I want you to clearly hear this. They were gaslighting your greatness. Not because you asked for too much, but because they were only prepared to offer too little. And you're not here to shrink anymore. So what does this look like in everyday life? What does this look like when you wake up in the morning and start your day? It's when you don't answer the text just because he came back with hey. Is when you pause before saying yes to an invitation that feels like a test. It's when you honor your inner knowing over someone else's confusion. This is where the real healing happens. When peace becomes your compass. When your standard becomes your filter. When your time is no longer cheap. When your energy is no longer reactive. Because here's the truth. The woman who doesn't chase, and she doesn't beg, and doesn't settle, she commands a different kind of attention. And that's you. Not because she's loud, but because her silence is sacred. She doesn't perform. And because her presence is pure. Right? Whisper these aloud. Write them down. Rewatch the video. These are for you. Repeat after me if you can. I release the need to be chosen by those who can't choose me. I don't chase. I attract what honors me. My standards are not negotiable. They are spiritual. What is meant for me aligns with ease and clarity. I am done begging for crumbs. I deserve the feast. I will no longer explain what I know in my spirit. The man who is for me will recognize me when he's aligned with my value. Let that settle, Queen. Let it become your new normal. And if you ever start to doubt, if you ever start to slip, if you ever start to shrink yourself all over again, remember this. You don't need to chase love. You need to choose yourself and let love recognize you, right? If he can't rise, release him. If he won't clarify, you don't need to convince a grown man. If your peace costs too much in that connection, it's not your connection. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. And when a woman is clear, the world and the right man adjust accordingly. Right? It's not about being cold. It's about being clear and claiming that power within you. If this message has helped you shift even one boundary, if something clicked just a little, and you felt a line finally get drawn in your spirit, then don't let this message slip away. Don't be this last time you hear from me. Subscribe right now so you don't lose access to this kind of clarity again. So your peace has a place to return to and your energy stays protected and aligned, right? This is a place where women lead from peace and not panic. And I'm honored to have you here. I am. As always, beautiful. Stay blessed and stay crowned. Have a great day.